Emma will, and then Emma, our president, will continue and we'll go on with the agenda. Thank you very much, and Adi, the floor is yours.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good to see so many faces given the circumstances. And I was asked today to share a little bit, and I'm not sure I'm quite equipped or even the right person to share some thoughts, but I'll try my best. As we're all seeing the images or whatever news stream you're watching the images coming out of Ukraine is really horrendous, and it's really some of the images are very harrowing. And one image particularly really shocked me quite a little bit this week. As most of you know, that I had twin boys around New Year's Eve, and one of the images that I saw recently was twins who were born in an air raid shelter in Ukraine. Same size, same kind of, everything. And it really shook me deep, going through my experience here and knowing what that family were going through, whilst also trying to evacuate their homes and their country.
Progress.
I also live in Kosovo now, and quite honestly, the images that we're seeing in Ukraine, it is triggering a lot of people who also went through the Balkans maybe 20 years ago. The other day we had air raid sirens playing out in a couple of the cities in preparation for something that might happen. And when I talk with my colleagues who are all refugees or child refugees, it's very hard for them not to be triggered about what they went through. I was asked for some observations, and just speaking to the staff here, these are not my observations, these are probably our staff team's observations, who were all refugees. They were saying that nobody wants to leave their home, and that's a very basic thing to say, but people don't want to leave their homes. What they are kind of, in terms of empathy, feeling with people of Ukraine is that feeling of loneliness. Some people like to use the word conflict, and it doesn't feel like a conflict, it's a war. Also, when you're asked to have empathy for the other side, and I go like this, side, it doesn't seem like at the moment you have a lot of empathy for people who are aggressors. And then further, what some of my colleagues shared with me here is, it really distorts what justice means, because you're basing it on your own experience. It's very easy to have a white paper or position paper for some of our work at a European or even a global level around what is justice, but it's very hard to answer those questions on the personal stories or the personal trauma that's been caused. Just some more reflections, and I guess in the eye of the storm at the moment, and it's very hard and it's very real, and thoughts, prayers and support should be with the people of Ukraine. But once we move beyond the immediateness of this, when I live in Kosovo, I would say, and I'm sure there's others here in the room that would also agree, peace is like living on a knife edge. There's always that feeling that something could happen or something could potentially escalate a situation or return to something that was so horrendous. From an organization point of view, it makes your work harder. It makes working with your communities harder. It makes being advocates. It means standing alone sometimes. And then the other thing, from a Kosovo perspective, we just appreciate that not everybody is ready for reconciliation. So once we move through the eye of the storm, people are scarred for life, and there will be people who die, or there will be people who live their whole life with not wanting to be in programs or in positions of reconciliation, who never want to speak to the other side. And that again can make your work so hard. One thing that I'd just like to share with people is that, I'm surrounded here, our board, our senior staff team, our people in the municipalities, our communities, they were all refugees. And, that is something that will stay with them for their lifetime, but they don't let them define who they are. And Recently, just as soon as December, I was very proud of our staff team who actually went and worked with Afghanistan children in the camps in Kosovo. So the children from Afghanistan were coming here, and our staff team, who were all refugees 20 years ago, were working with children who are now refugees through none of their own making. And I find that just so amazing, and it's something we can't even talk about or share, but I just find that there's humility in that. I don't want to, I know we're going to hear from different people, so I don't want to talk too much on stuff, but I do want to share just one image. And apologies to those of you who've seen this image before when I've done devotions. I usually start with this image and ask people what they see. And I'm sure your YMCAs all have thousands of photographs just like this one of young people smiling and standing together and going somewhere. Why this is significant, actually framed above my office desk and also at my home, is that the young people in this photo are from Kosovo and Serbia, who, as we know, or as some of you might remember, was involved in a very bloody war 25 years ago. And when I see photos like this, I get very choked up and emotional, because I know that we are in the eye of the storm, but I also know that institutions like the YMCA, we're going to be there. We're going to be there in the future, however long this takes. And we're going to be there to try and build bridges and do things and bring communities together and offer generations who were hurt and future generations who've kind of inherited that trauma. We're going to be there to lead the way or show the way or even offer the way for those that need it. So I just offer you this photo here, and I'm sure most of you who are not from the Balkans couldn't even tell me which young people are from Kosovo and which young people are from Serbia, and that's how it should be. I don't want to go talk anymore, but those are just a few reflections, I guess, not from me, but from us as a YMCA. And just to reiterate our position that, you know, of support and sending our love to Victor and his team and all his people and all people from Ukraine. I'd just like to finish with a prayer, and then we can move on. So please let us pray. Dear Lord, help us to remember those who tonight will go to sleep unfed and unwelcome, those who are strangers in foreign lands, people who have fled for their lives far from their homes, and people who are feeling alone and without any hope. We lift up to you those young people and just people in general who are escaping persecution, war, conflict, having fled what they feel is not safe or not the norm. And Lord, we ask that you guide them and help them and look over them. Lord, we also pray for those on the ground, on the front line, who are doing everything in their power to combat what's happening. We ask that you be with them and give them strength, give them tolerance, and give them the resources that they need. Lord, we ask you just to look over everybody in this situation, and I pray for the people of Ukraine during these hard times. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Adi, for helping us start this meeting in such a thoughtful way and with the hope of peace ahead of us. Emma, our president, Madam President, is with us once again to connect directly with you as a movement, as president and as leader of our European movement. Emma, please.
Thank you, Juan. And thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon for what is really an extraordinary National General Secretaries meeting. I'm really humbled and delighted that Victor is with us from Ukraine. He's been able to leave Ukraine safely and seek refuge in Poland. And I thank God that you're with us and safe, and indeed, many of our colleagues now that are finding refuge from Ukraine to the neighbouring countries. So thank you for being with us, and we pray that in your refuge we can be alongside you and assist what will be no doubt a long process of help and assistance to those people in Ukraine. Now, it was less than 3 weeks ago that Juan and myself were meeting with our friends in Ukraine and Russia, where the threat of invasion was a possibility, but in all honesty, there was a high degree of calm and order, and I guess a degree of caution optimism that this might never happen. But what we've all seen and witnessed in the last 14 days is a, once again, shift in Europe's geopolitical compass. We are sadly yet again witnessing yet another war on European soil. And this time we're all seeing it in real time with the power of social media and with our own first-hand accounts from our YMCA family and friends. And without doubt, all of us will be affected. But I guess war is something we in Europe have sadly grown used to, and it has indeed permeated our movement across its whole history. And I've been referring back to some of the words from a very early World Alliance president, Paul de Groot, when in 1920, he was reflecting on some of the words and the first days when World War I broke out in Europe. And he said, "We are again in the midst of the tempest and our lighthouse will remain firm, in spite of hurricanes contained to throw out its light into the night. The rock on which the lighthouse was maintained was the Paris basis." And what the last 14 or so days has clearly demonstrated to me is our faith in action as a movement, how we are united and absolutely solid in addressing the needs and concerns of those people within our area. And just as we rose to assist those people in earlier wars, particularly World War I, where we stood up, we provided frontline help and assistance of a scale that even now is difficult to comprehend. We provided nearly 200 million euros worth of cups of teas. Can you imagine that? How we were able as a movement to mobilize to directly provide help and refreshment on the front lines. We facilitated over 200 million letters to be sent home. In those days, the modern day equivalent of our emails to keep people informed of what was going on. In World War II, we came together, we worked even more as a united movement with our colleagues across the globe, providing frontline help and assistance to refugees, to prisoners of war. And we really came together as an international movement, which is what we're really good at. And today is no different. The last 2 weeks, we have seen our movement once again pull together. We've opened our doors to refugees. We've seen huge examples of the mobilization of immediate relief and aid, the supply of donations, and direct help and support to meet the humanitarian needs of those people on the front line. And I think what I find so humbling and encouraging is this is completely within our DNA. It is our faith in action. We are a movement without borders. We are effective and at our best when we work together. And we can create so much impact when we work together and put our faith in action. So we are in a movement strengthening moment, not just in the help in providing those people in Ukraine and the bordering countries, but we're also setting the seeds of how we can build our movement strengthening to not only address the unfolding situation in Ukraine, but also the ways in which we can strengthen our resilience as a global movement and strengthen our ties with one another together. And I think this will help us as we strengthen and prepare for our role for the YMCA movement in the future in what will be changing and increasingly challenging times. And this is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And I know with our faith, with our collective DNA to help those people and young people across Europe, that we will rise up and provide what we're really good at in terms of help and support to one another. Now, Juan is going to give you an update in terms of the activity that has been taking place over the last 14 days and the work that is in our pipeline. Can I just take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to not just the European staff team, but to each and every one of you as you step up in your own national movements to provide assistance and support. I'm extremely humbled and grateful to serve you, and I praise God will give you the continued energy, faith, and good health to continue your great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Madam President. In the room, we have over 30 persons at the moment. You are National General Secretaries, most of you. We have Carlos, our General Secretary from World YMCA. We have international secretaries also. Can you take out this slide yet, if you wish, so that we see, that's right, thank you, Marius. And quite a diverse group altogether. But I want to speak to you now before any slide. And if you can concentrate and look in your screen as I speak, because I will share with you 3 or 4 thoughts that I've been eager to share with each of you over the past 2 weeks. Just like you, I've cried over these days. Tears came to my eye, just like all of you, when we saw, we could not avoid it. Even if we think that we are over these kind of emotions, but when we saw some of the images, tears came to our eyes. But at the same time, we've been overwhelmed, as you said, Emma, by the response of everyone, individual and collective response from each of you. It's overwhelming what is happening, what is going across the European movement at any level, local level, at the associations, at national levels, with your board meetings, with your time at each of your responsibilities. We have discovered 3 incredible human beings. 3 incredible human beings. Victor from Ukraine, Alexei from Russia, Sasha from Belarus. 3 friends working together for many years. And even in these extremely challenging circumstances in which their governments are sending rockets to each other, to each of the peoples, they have been in contact and being aware of what you said, Emma, which is the mission of the YMCA and the responsibility that we have as leaders of the YMCA. And I will ask them a couple of questions in a moment, and also to Carlos, our Secretary General. It is overwhelming to see the way that you have responded and the way we are proud of the European movement and that we are proud of the staff team. And may I say also with deep emotion that I'm proud of the YMCA Europe staff team, of everyone working with us directly, with Emma and myself, in making everything possible over the past 2 weeks and making sure that we responded to emails and to requests as quick as possible, giving time from day and night and making sure that these answers were given on the ground in Ukraine, but also across the movement. Really proud of this group of persons. Proud of the World YMCA and the way the statement was produced on the 22nd of February. 22nd of February, a joint statement, World YMCA, YMCA Europe, YMCA Russia, YMCA Ukraine, YMCA Belarus, and the YMCAs involved in the zone. We were preparing for this moment for many years. For 10 years, the YMCA was preparing for this moment through our peace initiatives, through our movement strengthening tools, through strengthening this network of national general secretaries as a group of colleagues and friends from across Europe. We are strengthening ourselves, moving to Brussels, the capital in Europe, where our voice in these circumstances can be heard more strongly. We're preparing ourselves after 175, the event in London that brought the global movement together as a YMCA Europe initiative. We're preparing ourselves, putting together a working group of refugees 3 years ago, with involvement from many of your movements. We are preparing ourselves by being as resilient as we can be in times of COVID, with a strategy focused on relevance. and relationship and impact, aligned with Vision 2030 of World YMCA, the first area organization that said clearly yes to Patricia and to Carlos, we are here. Europe is here for you, World Alliance, to work with you jointly under your leadership. We were the first ones. So we were prepared for this, but we didn't see the war coming. We were preparing for peace for all these years, creating spaces for young people, creating opportunities, searching for resources and investing them in people, in activities. And in the end, we were not able to avoid that someone decided to start a war in Europe, with consequences for all of us, for all our countries in Europe, and even globally. And we need you now. We need you more than ever. All that work done in the European Alliance of YMCAs over 50 years has a meaning now. We need to rebuild it again, as we did in the 90s. We need what you have been doing, but we need more from you, from each of you. We ask you, and this is probably one of the few times that YMCA Europe is asking something so demanding from each of you, is that you put in your agendas as National General Secretaries and International Secretaries the refugee relief issues that we are going to face very soon across all over Europe. That all together we do more for peace building, joining our peace initiatives, Roots for Peace and others. And that we respond to you and your fundraising initiatives, which are overwhelming, over 250,000 euros already in donations and pledges. And we will reach 1 million in a few weeks with the support of our partners from the global movement, and especially from the United States. We need more from you. And your words, Emma, were so significant as we remember our history, our past, our responsibility as a movement. One of the few movements that can make a difference in Europe in a conflict between brothers and sisters, but also in a conflict that has strong political issues behind. Some of them that we cannot understand and we cannot agree, but they are there. But we are a movement able to create spaces in another way like nobody else before us and like nobody else today. Probably not even the public sector, like the European Union and other international organizations, but we can do it as YMCA, humbly, in small steps with our own resources, but we can do it more than ever. So I would ask you, Victor Serbulov, a general secretary, a colleague of us, who just a few weeks ago was in his hometown in Ukraine, and now is a refugee with his family, with his wife and his daughter in Warsaw. I would ask you, Victor, as a citizen, as a European, as a YMCA leader, what do you expect from our movement? What do you expect as a person? We know how you feel. We can imagine how we feel. We can have a feeling, but what do you expect from us? One sentence.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Emma, Eddie. Hard to say about all this situation, of course. So yes, I could never imagine that I am a lawyer. I could be a refugee. So, but it happened, and this war, unbelievable. So we knew that Russian Federation is collecting army near our border, but we thought it is, well, for scaring us. We did not realize to the end that it could be a real war. But it is a real war with a lot of damages, a lot of death. Our army is fighting fiercely. You could follow on the mass media that already hundreds of tanks are destroyed, around 100 military aircrafts and helicopters, and more than 12,000 Russian soldiers, and a few thousand are in prison. From our side, we don't know how many, but a lot of deaths, of course. And what is very bad and unbelievable that in civil population we have a lot of deaths, a lot of wounded people, and millions are on move from the areas of active war actions. I know that more than 1 million is in Poland already. A few 100,000 went through the borders of Romania, Slovakia, Moldova. We are extremely grateful to those our neighboring YMCAs who first receive our refugees, and then a lot of people go further to Germany, Hungary, and other countries. We are extremely grateful to all our YMCAs in Europe who receive and support our refugees. And now I really understand that it's international YMCA family, not only like slogan, not only in peaceful times, but during the war, during such crisis. This is very much needed and necessary and appreciated. The involvement of global YMCA, World International, personally Carlos and his office, extremely helpful. Our overseas partners from the USA, from Canada, and not only, I get a lot of messages from the Middle East, Asia. So I'm overwhelmed with this support. And of course, we need such support now because the situation is very hard. The active war actions are continuing, and we don't know when they could finish.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Victor, dear friend. And you will be able to react to some of the items that we'll be sharing during the meeting. We are with you. We want to tell you that we are with you. You can have our support in the distance. I know that Adam is there in Warsaw today supporting you. Also, the circumstances yesterday, your wallet was stolen, unbelievable, in the street. So when things go wrong, they go wrong 100% for sure, as you were sharing with me this morning. Thank you so much for your great attitude and commitment, and the way you are dealing with this personal and institutional situation. I would ask you
just one couple of words that our office national is continuing to work. Although I'm in Warsaw, but COVID taught us a lot to work distantly. So our bank account is functioning. Part of our staff members are in Kyiv and near Kyiv. our locals are very active. In the first days, it was just a few, but now I counted. It is 16 YMCAs, local YMCAs, who are doing great job. So together with you, I think we could do a lot. Thank you.
We can do a lot, Victor, and we know the account is functioning. The transfer reached you perfectly well in Kiev yesterday, so we are also relieved for that, for this first humanitarian aid that reaches you directly into your account in Kiev. Sasha, can I briefly ask you just one sentence, as a neighboring country, and also knowing your political situation in Belarus and the position of your government, how do you feel as a YMCA leader in these circumstances? Just a couple of sentences, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Juan. First of all, I would like to say thank you to all of you for the support to the Ukrainian people. Because I am Ukrainian, despite I live in Belarus, and I have to say that most of Belarusian people, they are worrying a lot about Ukraine and about everything what is happening in the Ukraine. And of course, atmosphere is very depressive and oppressive, I would say, for normal people, because unfortunately the state is supporting Russia, and most of people, they are supporting Ukrainians and the freedom what they fighting for. And in fact, why we feel not very good, not only because we are on the side of, I mean, the state is on the side of Russia, because our opportunities is very limited, and we want to do something, but we cannot do much. What we can do, that's to keep in touch with our colleagues and maybe to connect people from different countries, to help with some connections and to help with some language translations maybe. So what we can do, we are trying to do this and to help with this. And I had just 2 hours ago, we had a talk with Martin Hedberg from Sweden. So we also talked a little bit about how YMCA Sweden is involved and how can we coordinate our efforts in YMCA Belarus together with them. So the mood is not the best, but we are not losing hope. And you are helping with this because as YMCA Europe, I know you are doing really a lot to concentrate all the efforts from different people and from different organizations. And I think that we will need to do much more all together for Ukrainians and for all of us after all this war and after everything will be finished.
Thank you, Sasha. And Alexei, on Friday, in the meeting we had with the American YMCA, said a sentence that strikes in my mind and my heart since then. Is he was praying as Russian. He was praying for his Ukrainian brothers and sisters from the YMCA and from the country. And he was not the only one, he said, praying in Russia for Ukraine. We just had a message from Alina. She's entering the border now between Romania and Ukraine for a mission on humanitarian aid. Alina has been tireless together with her colleagues, volunteers and staff at YMCA Romania over the past 2 weeks since the night of the 24th of February, and also with our friends in Moldova and YMCA Moldova. This is incredible work on the front line. You see these posts on social media. And she will be able to share with us, I'm sure, in the next days. And I continue explaining what she's doing on behalf of the Romanian movement. We go directly into the findings that we have. So Marius, if you could share the screen and we can open a dialogue immediately after this. Thank you, Marius. Next one, please. Yes. Next one. So we, from the very beginning, we agreed that we have starting our action based on 4 pillars. We started this exactly on the 27th of February. First of all, the frame of our strategy that we all adopted 1.5 years ago. The Roots for Peace presets as a project that has been crucial in our development of peace initiatives across Europe over the past 12, 13 years. The movement strengthening tools and strategy, which is something we put in place in the last 3 years, and our immediate short midterm actions. With this, we produced a strategy that we shared directly with the most affected YMCAs in this crisis, with World YMCA and with the neighboring countries. We did that on the 27th of February, the first stages of the process. It was a few pages document and it's still under revision. You have it in the working documents that we sent a few hours ago. Next one, please. The frames of action are clear. The relief, resilience and protection, relief and resilience in Ukraine especially, and protection of the Russian and Belarusian YMCAs. The resource mobilization initiated on the 24th of February also, which is coming up to approximately 250,000 euros in direct donations or pledges at the moment. The movement is institutional viability. This is important for us during the conflict and after the conflict, the programs and campaigns, and advocacy on peace and security. These are the 5 frames from action that we're building our strategy and our action plan into. Next one. Marius will share with you briefly where we are in terms of highlights in communications, in the fundraising, and in the forms and databases that we are producing from our platform. Thank you, Marius.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Juan. Yes, very briefly. First of all, I would like to say that we created from the very beginning clear channels and a clear structure of communication within the YMCA Europe staff for responses and for actions. So we know very clear how to act and who is doing what. Then on social media, for sure you have seen already all the monitoring that we are trying to do as best as possible. And then to come up with posts, updates. We have almost every day, not almost, every day calls with the people working on the borders and with the representatives of Ukrainian YMCA. In terms of fundraising tools, you also know that we have launched and we are collecting for more than 1 week already through PayPal, through card donation and Facebook fundraisers. And at this moment, I would say we are talking about more than 500 individual donations through the channels. And of course, all these 3 donation channels will go on for the next days, week. Also, we put together some forms and databases in order to help us and help the Ukrainian movement and also the countries, the neighboring countries. About the forms, Olga, my colleague Olga, will talk a bit more in the next minutes. We are trying to put together a kind of database for the national coordinators, so we know who is doing what, and we can link people for faster communication and actions. Also, we are trying to set up a database of the local and national, regional YMCA who can provide accommodation, to have a clear picture and again for better communication. And we put together and you have it already in your emails and it's going public today after this meeting, a kind of journal of action. So you can see every day what was happening within the YMCA Europe staff for this specific action. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all of you and your staff, especially those working with the communications, for being open, for sharing information, for being always connected and responsive with all the needs we are asking for. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Marius. And let me ask Varda now to share even more specific items when it comes to the next stage. So we are thinking about two collective responses happening already at the moment, which are based on two strategic priorities. One is the refugee relief and rehabilitation, and simultaneously the movement strengthening and capacity building for YMCAs in the region. So those two actions that we'll be sharing in the next few minutes are complementary. So one is necessary for the other one to be successful and vice versa. This is the key pillar for our strategy and action plan within this huge project involving all of us. So next one, please. Vardem, thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you. And I directly go into the statistics, which I'm sure all of you know, but just to repeat that as of yesterday, over 2 million refugees already left Ukraine, most of them going towards West, and majority of them going through Poland. But this is not the final destination of many of them. People have already reached the shores of La Manche and trying to cross already to the UK. They are already in France, in Germany, in Scandinavia. And this is the biggest refugee crisis in Europe, as you know, after the Second World War, and this requires responses at its magnitude. So what we are planning to this end is actually not planning, but we are actually doing it to this point, is already providing immediate response to the humanitarian crisis to the people. Of course, YMCA cannot help everybody crossing the borders, but we can help at least groups of people. I was so thrilled to observe the story of Vicky from YMCA Boiarca crossing the Romanian border, because just a few months ago, she was participant of our Peace Work Institute. So these are personal stories that YMCA is taking care of, not only YMCA people, but also many other people. So the first thing is to show immediate response to the humanitarian crisis. But at the same time, we are working very hard with our key stakeholders and constituency, which is you, on midterm and long-term program ideas, concepts, plans, which will come very soon. And next slide, Marius, please. And in this line, we have identified the following kind of chronological goals. The first thing is that right now we have to provide shelter and accommodation to the refugees. And accommodation, it doesn't mean only room, but also all the necessities that people may need as a relief assistance. Yesterday, I was meeting with Y Global and Christine from YMCA, YWCA Norway brought a very good example. The capacity of the rooms in Europe will not be enough to host all the refugees fleeing from the war in Ukraine. So think about also homestays that mobilize families who would like to accommodate people. The next parallel to this, we need to revise our ongoing strategies and adopt to the new reality. We cannot, unfortunately, we cannot live the life which we were planning to live this year before this war. This is already, for me, this is already the third force majeure during the last 2 years. And it's really very difficult times we are going through. But as I always say, people can handle anything together. So we have to really revisit our strategies. The second thing is that we need to definitely already plan about refugee assistance and integration projects in our YMCAs. We have to build capacities to this end, and YMCA can provide many programs in this field. We can learn from each other, and YMCA Europe is there to facilitate that learning process. And the last but not the least, we as a civic movement should raise our voice to those guys, to those people who are responsible for this world, that this is too much. This needs to be stopped. The world is in a very deep security crisis. And we as a civil society organization should combine our efforts and advocate for peace and security for everybody. We are posting in our Roots for Peace Facebook page and YMCA Europe Facebook, we are posting peace messages from our Peace Work Institute participants. Today is Alexander's message, by the way. Sasha, your message is on. People are saying wise things, you know, even if they have not witnessed this conflict yet. And peace is when it's for everybody and equally. We have to really voice our advocacy for this too. And this is all from me.
Thank you, Vardem. You have a more detailed explanation of what Vardem said in the papers that we circulated this morning. We finished it yesterday, actually. You know, it's combining the work on the ground with the daily life of YMCA with this new challenge appealing to all of us. But in addition to this strategic priority, we have a second one, which is in parallel. And Olga will share with us about it. Thank you, Olga.
Thank you so much, Juan. Good afternoon. And I want to start with thanking all of you here for very quick and efficient communication during these days. Thank you so much, much appreciated. Talking about movement strengthening, we are glad that we have key tools on the table already, but we understand that now we will need primarily focus on YMCAs in Ukraine, movements which are involved in refugees relief initiatives, and movements which are suffering from the consequences of the war. Next slide, please. Talking about the goals, we see our main role in assisting national movements in strategic revision. I think that we all understand now that this is the time to provide not only emergency response, but to build good, sustainable mid-term and long-term strategies. Enhancing staff and volunteer capacity. I think that we all see already that how much work is done and that more and more people are needed. We need to adapt and support and monitor governance standards as one of the key conditions for sustainable development. Development of new partnership at local and national level is also crucial now, because we cannot act alone in such scale of a crisis. Number 5, as well, we need to think about YMCA Europe, and we need to strengthen YMCA Europe's capacity as an umbrella organization, programmatic, financial, and structural. We need to make a revision of existing movement strengthening tools. And as Vardem was already told, we need to strengthen common voice and provide relevant, quick, and efficient advocacy actions. Next one, please. This is what already Mario started talking about. This is kind of practical information. You have received it already, but we want to underline that there is urgent help suggestion form, very simple one. If your YMCAs are doing something or going to do, please fill in this form. As well, we have produced urgent fund request form, the same, very simple, and it was distributed, and the organizations providing urgent relief are using it already. Together with World YMCA, with YMCA USA, we are delivering global youth mobilization for urgent response situation in Ukraine. So in case you are using it, let us know, please, that you have filled it in, because now the help should be organized immediately. If you collect humanitarian help, please ask in advance what is needed, who can receive it. We want to avoid some miscommunication. We need to coordinate it properly. And saying it, the next steps we are going to do is to launch individual and group meetings with those organizations which are involved in emergency response. So to start building together mid-term and long-term strategies. Thank you so much. I will be happy to answer questions later on.
Thank you, Olga. What you heard is a result of years of preparation for this moment that we never expected that will come. But we are here, we are ready, we are equipped to face this situation. I would now like to open for questions or comments. Let me just first introduce a new colleague within our YMCA Europe team for the next 4 or 6 weeks. And we are blessed and thankful to YMCA England and Wales and to you, Emma, personally, for establishing the contact through Denise of having Team Hartford with us, helping us in putting together tools, ideas, thoughts, strategy when it comes to the fundraising initiatives and to implement them on the field. So Tim, if you would like to say a few words, share a few words with all of us, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased on behalf of YMCA England and Wales to be offering some support. Here I head up our fundraising operation. We've already started a fundraising initiative among our YMCAs in the England and Wales Federation, and we have a level of expertise and knowledge there that we're very, very happy to be able to share more widely. So I look forward to getting involved and finding out how we can support this most effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And also I may also mention the International Secretary's role and your crucial connection with the national movements, and also with your experience and expertise from YMCA International to Y Global, Horizon, etc., all partners across Europe. May we open for comments or questions, and then I would ask Carlos to take the floor and share with us a message and also thoughts on behalf of World YMCA. Thank you. You can also write in the chat if you wish, and we can respond. Any of our colleagues can respond to your questions or comments.
Juan, Kerry raised the hand.
Yes, Kerry.
Juan, thank you. For those of us who feel quite far away, it's really humbling to hear everything that's been done, and very moving. And so I just want to thank YMCA Europe and World YMCA for all the leadership that you've taken very, very quickly, responding quickly and putting a strategy together to respond to this, and then garnering support from all of the national YMCAs around Europe and beyond. So not a question, just a thanks. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Kerry. And you know that you were one of the persons building this because the years before us were crucial to get us to this point in which we can be responsive and ready with a strategy, with a structure to be able to feed as fast as possible into these enormous challenges. Thank you. We have a question from Alexander from Sweden. Are there any dialogues, plans on working together with other organizations, for the Red Cross, etc.? Very much funds have been raised within many organizations, and YMCA could help them freeze. Yes, I would respond, and then I would ask also Olga from Brussels to share a few thoughts about it. We are part of the Big Six. We have not done any formal institutional communication with any of the Big Six at the moment, only informal communications. We are aware that, for instance, the Red Cross and others are a direct relief organization working on the ground already on both sides of the conflict since the very first moment. But at this stage, from YMCA Europe's institutional capacity. We have not. There's been contacts with the national YMCAs working on the field. In the case of Romania, Moldova, Ukraine itself, but not. And that's something that we also have in our mind. And Olga, maybe you want to share something about advocacy and the youth forum and how we coordinate with them in the initiatives. We try to do it.
I would love to underline we try to do it, because those days we could not breathe and sleep, and we were really dealing with urgent things, but we are in contact with Youth Forum. But looks like that they are as well in the situation of awful crisis, because let's be honest, their answers were not clear for our questions about the advocacy messages and coordinated actions. We did not receive clear instructions. And yes, we are trying to get in touch with the Red Cross as their expertise organization now, because we cannot predict what kind of humanitarian help will be needed in 2, 3, 6 months in such situations. And we need their expertise in this sphere. Thank you so much. Juan, we have one more hand.
Yes.
Alexandra.
Thank you for all your words. It's, to be honest, last week I cried a lot concerning all my friends and colleagues. In France, we are like in second line. We are starting to welcome refugees from Ukraine. And this afternoon, I will pick up young ladies who arrived last week in Paris. And I will pick up her at the train station. So we are involved, but we don't have a huge amount of people who are in France, but they will arrive. And as I know, because we have a centralized and regulate programs of refugees in France, all the refugees, when they will arrive, they will have to ask official paper, and it takes around 1 week to 3 weeks to have papers. And after that, they will be able to work and to have social support during one year and 1 year in plus. But it comes from the European agreement, European directive. I know in different kind of country, all the national government has to translate in their own government. So do you know, as YMCA Europe, if this European agreement is the same now in all our European countries? For example, in Spain, in France, in Italy, do you know if it's the same thing and the same way to welcome the refugees and the document, the paper, and if they can work everywhere? Because it's not the same thing if the people have the possibility to work and to have a contract, or if not possible, it's not the same support as a national or local YMCA associations.
Thank you, Alexander. Yes, the European Union put together a policy urgently last week. It was an agreement among all ministers of justice and interior to facilitate as much as possible the arrival of refugees and also their full integration, including work opportunities, work possibilities across Europe. This is something that will be ready very soon. And also the UK government is following the same policies internally, facilitating as much as possible. It was overwhelming to see yesterday the parliament in London standing on a motion for the Ukrainian president. So there's a strong support across Europe beyond the European Union, facilitating as much as possible the integration of refugees within this new, and considering from the very beginning as asylum seekers coming from a war zone. Thank you. I'm conscious of time and we promised 1 hour. Please feel free to continue communicating and asking. We are ready to answer your questions. But Carlos, a message from you before we go into the announcement for the prayer on Friday we have. You know, Carlos and I have been in contact over this crisis from the very first moment. And it's been a journey also for us. Somehow it's new for our movement that this is happening. And the other day I spoke with Carlos to tell him that he was appointed just 4 years ago. And in 4 years, he went through a pandemic as Secretary General of the World Alliance, which changed dramatically the way of operating of the World Alliance. He had to go through a revision of the vision of the organization, plus setting everything for World Council, including the approval of a new vision, new constitution, etc. And now, when everything was set, he gets into a global crisis like this. And Carlos, may I ask you how you feel and what are your thoughts for us at this moment?
Thank you, Juan. Sorry, I appreciate this opportunity to meet as a colleague. And I want to thank Emma, Juan, and all YMCA Europe team and all the National General Secretary for this meeting. How I feel that there are many things we don't know. There are many things we don't know. How long this crisis is going to last, how deep it's going to affect. We already know that worldwide, the cost of living is going to increase. There are a group of young people, I'm here in Togo, I know in West Africa, there are young people are queuing to go to Ukraine to fight, to help. So there is a huge solidarity around what is happening in Ukraine currently. And I feel if there is a time where we need to come together as a global movement, this is the time. But this is many things we don't know. This morning we released a statement about discrimination among refugees. This is very important for us to say, as a YMCA, we need to position ourselves that all life counts. All life counts. That's going to be our unique position. I talked to the Red Cross. They are specialists. They are on the political level or humanitarian level. All I'm hearing is, what is our niche? Where is our niche in terms of YMCA? And fighting for the dignity of all is one of the elements we need to do. And last time I also saw an initiative from Y Global around mental health. I think those are the areas where we need to find our niche so that we can go and dialogue with all the people. So without taking too much time, thank you for this initiative. There are many things we don't know. And when we come together, let's put our effort to make sure that we respond more adequately for the YMCA mission to stand high, to make sure that people live in dignity. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carlos, our friend. We will share with you the next initiative, which is on Friday. We have planned a Pray for Peace. And before Emma closes our meeting with some words also, we would like to gather in prayer on Friday, the 11th. For my country, Friday, the 11th of March, is a very symbolic day, very symbolic day. Also for war and for terror. And it was also, the 11th was also something similar happened, as you know, in 2021, later on in London. We'll gather that day for peace, for prayer, all together in unity. And we look forward to seeing you there. And just to remind you that the General Assembly, we have launched registration, and from the 1st to the 3rd of July in Aarhus, also aligned with the World Alliance World Council. And we will be communicating with you. We'll have more meetings like this in the upcoming weeks to continue updating you. And Emma, who else could close our meeting today with some thoughts and some reaction to what we have just shared from Victor to all of us here in the room? Thank you.
Thanks, Juan. I think what been so overwhelming today in our gathering together is our solidarity and our unity, both in terms of the sadness that we feel, but also the hope that we have as a global movement, a movement that is strengthening, that we can play our part and put our faith in action. So may I conclude today by sending God's love, blessing, energy, and best wishes on us all as we continue to work alongside our communities, our young people, the refugees as they spread west, and all those in all our countries that are affected by the conflict in Ukraine. We're all suffering. Indeed, our own executive committee, we have both Ukrainian and Russian members that sit alongside each other. And echoing really Carlos's sentiments, you know, we come together to shine the light, to show people that we are an organization for peace, for hope, and that we put the needs of young people first. And we pray that we come together and stay together and continue our good work. God bless us all, and God bless those that are very much on the front line. May they stay safe. God bless us all. Amen.
Thank you.